So I that's the thing that I struggle with is like, why are they showing this? Why did we get a hold of this?
Look at the stuff that they recommended. Reposturing bombers within easy striking range of key Russian strategic targets.
Well,
reposturing fighters so that they are closer to their targets than bombers. Deploying additional tactical nuclear weapons to locations in Europe and Asia. Repositioning U.S. and allied ballistic missile defense systems to better engage Russian ballistic missiles. And goad Russia into a costly arms race by breaking out of the nuclear arms control regime.
Mm-hmm.
More stuff they wanted to do. Increasing U.S. forces in Europe, increasing European NATO members, ground capabilities, and deploying a large... This is also they can goad Russia into doing what they did in Ukraine so we could have a proxy war. So we could beat them. So then we can then institute economic sanctions and we could have them, we could beat them economically. That's all. So we can sell more liquefied natural gas to Europe. We're the terrorists. Most of the options discussed, including those listed here, are in some sense escalatory, and most would likely prompt some Russian counter-escalation. That's what they want. Thus, besides the specific risks associated with each option, there is additional risk attached to a generally intensified, yeah, you mean like a fucking war? And our economy getting crushed the way it is? Finally, although Russia will bear the cost of this increased competition less easily than the United States will, both sides will have to divert national resources from other purposes. We're doing it to ourselves. On purpose.
Mm-hmm.
On Ukraine, this is what Rand said. Proxy competition of this sort is not new. The renewal of such maneuvering marks a return to a form of geopolitical competition that some analysts argue took a brief hiatus after the end of the Cold War, when the United States was left as the lone superpower and the ideology of liberal democracy seemed to reign supreme. The United States could also become more vocal in its support for NATO members for Ukraine. It's every fucking thing they've said in this paper we've done.
Just a coincidence, Jimmy.
Craig, an increase in U.S. security assistance to Ukraine would likely lead to a commensurate increase in both Russian aid to the separatists and Russian military forces in Ukraine, thus sustaining the conflict at a somewhat higher level of intensity. They're literally planning out how to do a war.
Go ahead.
I was listening to the Oliver Stone Putin interviews last night, and it was so funny because it just everything traces back to U.S. escalation. He's discussing the fact that, like, you know, the U.S. pulled out of the ballistic missiles agreement we had, and if they do something, we're going to have an equal and counter response. And Oliver Stone asked Putin, you know, hypothetically, if there was like a war in your territory between Western proxies and you guys, who would the U.S. win? And Putin just said no, they would not win. Now we all knew this was going to happen. Putin said it, Rand said it, Burns said it, Newland. They all knew this, but it's just going to make a bunch of money for the MIC.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, the nuclear treaty that was trying to be extended, when Tulsi Gabbard was trying to extend it, guess who shot it down? Liz Cheney and Seth Moulton.
I just want to show you, this is my last thing I'll show you on this, to show you how much they don't give a shit about people. Such escalation might extend Russia. Eastern Ukraine is already a drain. Taking more of Ukraine might only increase the burden, albeit at the expense of the Ukrainian people. Hey, so the Ukrainian people are going to get effed in this. But, you know, you got to break a few eggs, huh? To sell some liquefied natural gas to Europe. Huh?